Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Reel to Reel. If you remember, in our last session, we watched Time Crimes. It was kind of to celebrate the spooky season, and that was my choice. And Broadshow has made his choice, and if Broadshow wants to start off, you can intro our guest also.
Yes. So I saw this movie, I'm pretty sure, because of this gentleman. I don't think...
I am the man responsible for you seeing this film, yes.
Yeah. It's my buddy Chuck Crane.
Thank you for letting me join you all. Hello.
Yes.
Welcome, Charles.
Welcome.
I am humbled, very honored.
He has recently started his own film podcast of sorts with our other buddy Matt Miller.
Nice.
Who's that?
What's the name of that their show there, Chuck Crane?
We're calling it From the Mezzanine, a podcast about motion pictures. So that means it applies to everything. Since cinema is such an abstract term now, it's your living room, it's wherever you're at, it's on your phone.
And where can people find it?
Right now, we're just on YouTube, and more specifically, Matt Miller's Facebook page, because that's where he's decided he will plant his flag. And on the latest episode, it does link there, so I hope he understands what he's done by putting that out there.
I was just gonna say, this is a movie called Dogtooth, which I believe rewatching it was Chuck Crane going, "Dude, have you seen this? This shit's fucked up." And I'm like, okay. And that's how it happened, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because that was at the stage of life where it was like the internet was just opening up too many doors. You know, and we were just realizing the great possibilities of foreign film, especially since we took like a world cinema class at around that time as well. This was not for that class. It should have been, but it wasn't.
Wow, that film in that class would have been kind of funky.
Well, at first that's what it was tied to in my head, was that, and I was like, no, this couldn't have possibly been that.
Have you seen European films? Man, they show boobies.
Yeah.
A lot of the European films they made us watch were about poor Middle Eastern children being abused.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, there was also it's kind of
it was
connects.
that in
you brought the popcorn, right?
Every time.
Just munching on that popcorn.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much. Even the setup, really.
So the movie is Dogtooth for everybody.
It's called Dogtooth.
Dogtooth, and there's some
no Wilson. It doesn't involve dogs.
no dogs.
That all the way right away.
Okay.
But it is. What country is it from? Is it German, Swedish,
Greek?
I'm pretty sure it's Greek.
There we go. Somewhere around there.
The director, I think, is Greek.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is Greek. I remember now because I did a little research on it. That I promptly forgot.
He's an art house master, as far as I'm concerned. He's made some really cool things since then, if I'm right. Like he did like the one about the favorite, and the lobster, and the killing of the sacred deer. Like this guy is really honed in. Exciting.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
That motherfucker right there.
Yorgos. Yeah, that's an awesome name.
But it all started here with Dogtooth.
Spanakopita.
Yeah.
So yeah, Wilson, you're in for a treat because we'll go into a deep dive after we watch the film of your thoughts and everything, but also like symbolism and like the funky ideas that this guy was conjuring up while he was making this. Like what caused him to make it.
I'm the only one here who hasn't seen this, right?
Unfortunately, I wish I could go back to that state, experience it again for the first time, because it had a profound effect on me at the time.
Yeah.
And it's
came out in 2009. We probably saw it 2009, 2010. Probably 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I don't know. But yeah. It could have even been, we could have even seen it it was before we lived together that we watched it.
Yeah, this was like at the flicks with Chuck and Rick era.
Yeah.
Which was a Bizet Information Network show.
Mm.
Yeah, dude. We
you talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So there might even
review
be a
show.
review of Dogtooth on there. If I can dig that up,
That would be
know.
hilarious.
I'm gonna dig that up. I'm gonna see if I can
Okay.
still find that.
Well, while you're doing that, we can start the movie without further ado. I will get the
Oh
stream ready.
wait!
What?
I just want to remind you. I dropped this little tidbit at the end of last episode, I think.
Okay.
Filmmaker David Lynch said it is one of his favorite recent films,
Oh,
claiming it's a fantastic comedy. There you go.
yes. That's why we thought it would be great for Wilson to just watch, because who knows if he's being serious or not.
Oh, David.
I have an interpretation of what he meant, but I'll save it for later.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, I'll get the stream and we'll get going.
All right. See you on the flip side.
Come on, we'll go get bit by that dog.
And now, our feature presentation.
That was the film.
Wait. Hold up.
That's not how I remember it.
That's not how I remember it either.
How did you remember it?
Yeah, how do you guys remember it?
For
How do you
one,
remember-
there's a scene of her straight up fellation her brother. That wasn't there.
That's not how it ends.
No, but it's in the movie.
Okay.
Well, it clearly wasn't.
No.
That is definitely in the movie. I'm right though, right, Krang?
That you're right about that, but I'm talking about the ending. Like my memory of the ending is of her trying to like get out of the back. And
Okay.
Right.
of her like hitting the roof of the trunk.
I remember it like this.
Then I'm just crazy. It's been 10 years since I've seen it.
It maybe like played in your head those 10 years like, hey, maybe she was trying to bang on the door or
So, taking away what was in front of me just now, am I to interpret that she like died in there?
you could interpret that.
You could.
You don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
They left it up to
She
speculation.
could have suffocated in there. She could have not.
Might just be biding her time to get out.
Mm-hmm.
No, death is her only true release from this life that she lives.
Well, she did stay in there overnight, but they're not like airtight. Trunks aren't airtight.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
at least one night. We don't know that was strictly the next day. Like,
That's true.
maybe she baked alive in there. I don't know.
Quite possibly.
Could have suffocated. You know, you
Fumes
can't.
from the car.
Those
This is
old
gross.
cars, you can't. Open them from the inside. So like, what's throwing me off is there was none of that very graphic fellation scene that I know was in there.
How did you guys watch it before? Or where'd you watch it?
Did we just because it wasn't available on anywhere? I believe it was just on the Pirate Bay
Okay.
back in the day, allegedly. And whatever we had downloaded was like all the credits were the same. Like it was like the DVD release of it that was available at the time.
Maybe it was either a different cut or Bradshaw. You said you were pretty sneezled when you watched this. But
It might just be
but I know that was a scene though. Like I
mean,
know that happened.
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just offering an alternative where maybe you mixed up that scene of the fellatio on the TV with some of the other acts that happened.
Maybe you're thinking about like the Brown Bunny, which has
No, never seen it.
You've ever seen the Brown Bunny? Okay.
No,
Because
that's why I was like, "Whoa, shit!"
I'm just guilty of like putting shit in there, but no, I do recall like when my first takeaway from this was that they really went for it.
They did
With
in
that.
a lot of scenes, yeah.
Yeah, but the more important and memorable stuff, is in like the fallout from that scene, like that, like you brought up earlier with that dance and that music.
That was like the pinnacle of her, or like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm fed up with this whole situation I'm in. That was her lashing out at her parents and like, I'm just going to do this. I've been scolded for watching these films. I don't care. I'm just going to go crazy, go nuts.
Yeah, like you can scold me for doing it, but it doesn't erase the memory from my head.
Yep.
It
It's
was her
so
Footloose
impactful.
moment.
Yeah. So we should dive into this this film. We just got done watching Dogtooth, Broadshow's pick. I'm interested to find some connections here with time crimes, other than the fact that it was a international film. It was from Greece, and the other one was from Mexico.
Yeah, I'm still
No,
trying to
Spain. It was from
remember.
Spain.
Pain. Yeah.
Might have been that. It might have been just like kind of the weird setting of it. I don't know. I did have a concrete like why it connected with me to this. I'm having a hard time remembering because it's been like a month or some shit.
We might have like seen them around the same time. Maybe.
They're both 2009, I think.
Yeah.
Close to it. No, another one was 2000. No, it was 2007.
Okay.
But yeah, let's dive into the film. Maybe we can find some tangential connections like we want to do. Come on, Bradshaw. Hit us off with the plot of this movie.
The plot of this movie essentially is it's these three siblings, right? That are
sheltered. Very sheltered.
Shelter's a word for it.
They're trained to be like dogs, I would say.
Yes.
That's my takeaway.
And by the dad. The dad's very controlling. And okay. So he's basically constructed this world to keep his kids sheltered in and to kind of raise them how he wants to. And the constraint and like the reason for the name of the movie is that he as he explains, you're only allowed to leave once you've lost your dog tooth, aka your canine. And he's kind of presented the only way that you can leave is by driving out. And he says then the only way you can learn to drive then is once your dog tooth grows back, which obviously that's not going to happen. He says in around 2030 or whatever is when that should happen. And basically it's just this whole movie then is a glimpse, I guess, into how these people, how this dad controls his family. Going as far as like obviously since the boy is older, like they're all older, right? They're probably in their 20s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the boy obviously is, he wants to fuck. So the dad's solution to that is bringing in some security guard from the business he works at, pays her to come and have sex with his son and then leave. She eventually, she's not getting much pleasure out of this deal. So she wants him to go down on her, and he's like, I don't like it. So then she decides to, like, bribe one of the sisters with stuff if she'll,
do the dirty deed.
If she'll do the deed. And, so she does.
She gets a sweet headband.
She gets a headband, and then she kind of gets fed up because she's like, the headband isn't doing what she thought it would do. And then she gets then she tries bribing her with hair gel. She's like, no, I don't want that. I want something good, or else, I'll tell my dad and all this shit. So she sifts through her purse and finds movies. And I think the two movies are one of the Rockies.
One of the Rockies.
Right?
Yep.
And then Jaws. And that's
the whole, like, floodgates are open at that point because the eldest takes those as like religious doctrine of some kind. Like, this is a real thing and I need to ascribe my life by it and act the way these people act in this. Because the only films they watch are of themselves and of planes
it's like
flying
family
over.
films.
Because they have them
And
all
so,
like down verbatim. Like they watch them and they recite them back to them.
Yep.
That's how ingrained it is in their heads.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, the wheels were already starting to kind of fall off our main character, I guess. She's kind of the problem child, I guess.
Yeah, and they don't have names. None of these kids have names.
No. She gets, slapped upside the head. When he finds that she has movies, he fucking hits her and tapes the movies to her hands and beats her in the head with the hands.
Brutal scene.
Yeah, and like earlier in the film, she slices her brother's arm with a knife.
Because what was the situation there? He stole something from her?
He had the plane, and she's like, no, that's not yours, and she threw the plane into the outside of the fence.
That's right. When did
he
have
comes
to drink
running inside, and she slices him
Listerine
with the
or
arm.
whatever it was?
Oh, it's because he
was yelling at his brother.
Talking to his brother.
Yeah, he was yelling at his brother. Which we should dive into. There's a brother, a third sibling, but
fourth sibling.
A fourth.
Fourth, yes, for a second brother. Which seems to be the wall or the leaves on the wall.
I always took it as,
or he's on the other side of the wall.
He's on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing too. Who knows how that came about in their child rearing?
and we don't know why it came up, and it was removed very conveniently because they needed to
explain a cat.
They needed to manage the son murdering a cat because he didn't have any fucking clue what it was.
Yep. Everybody was spooked out by that cat.
That poor little cat. Was just like, you got awesome trees here, lots of birds, I'm happy. Like, can I chill here? Oh fuck, you're stabbing me.
Okay, so as being the only person that this was my first experience with this, can I point out some of the things that I really noticed?
Yeah, do
absolutely.
It.
Mm-hmm.
The very, very first thing was in the beginning when they're listening to their new words for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Every word except one was there's a thing in the movie where the mother is explaining to the kids what the word for something is. She's explaining definitions, but they're always the wrong thing. So an example is there's a scene in the movie where they're having dinner and I think it's the middle child says to the mother, "Hey mom, can you please pass the telephone?" And the mom hands her a salt shaker. So she's been taught that the word for salt shaker is telephone.
Right.
The words that the mom is reading are listing on the tape in the beginning. Every word except for one of them is some sort of way that you travel or something that you would travel on. It's like a means of conveyance.
Yeah, a motorway is a very strong wind.
Yep. There's motorway. There's the sea. I'm forgetting the third one.
Excursion.
And
is
she said,
a
sea is something with arms that you sit on made of leather.
It's a sound a chandelier makes when it falls down or something like that. Or
and
100% excursion or something.
That was the first kind of clear sign of one of the major themes of the movie was just everything that we can do to subvert the idea of what the outside world is. We're even going to teach them the wrong words so that when they would hear something that maybe might make them think of the outside world, they're not going to think of that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. No, that's very well pointed out.
Yeah, like you said about the movies, when the boy was like, "I want to video tonight," I was like, "What the fuck kind of video are they going to be allowed to watch?"
The fun prize, yeah, because he had the most stickers. He was the goodest boy.
One thing that really shocked me was because you said the name of this movie before we started, and just out of curiosity, I Googled it just to read the two-word sentence quick synopsis.
Okay.
And it said, something about parents raising their children with as little influence from the outside world as possible. And I was like, oh, they're going to be kids. But no, these were adults.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
They have the attitudes of kids.
oh, they
was
had the
the
minds
thing,
of children
too.
for sure. But like,
Yeah.
I
But that's what
honestly am
happens, yeah.
surprised. I'm surprised that it took this long for the wheels to fall off.
Right?
That is the thing that is kind of unbelievable about it, because like this is obviously a cult of one that's in stagnation. But yeah, like he's only been able to keep it going this long because he had that young lady at his office park to, fuck his son once a week. That's how he was managing the problem of his son becoming a man
And
and outgrowing the nest every single moment of his life.
I guess it helps when the mom is like just as brainwashed as the kids, pretty much. And in my opinion, and from what the movie has said about like these are the rules, no, like that none of those kids have ever left the house, and maybe the mom has like left the house before she met the dad or something. But it's been a while.
Yeah. And like, yeah, we didn't mention either that he discovers that, or the girl brings in the movies or whatever to show that her dad, or to her, that whatever, but that's what he beats her with it. He then goes to that security guard's house and then beats her with her VHS player. So like a symbolic beating there.
Called a VCR.
Yep, the VCR. And then and
Then
then
he says something very, very ironic.
Yeah, he's like, I wish your kids are disobey you and like don't listen to you.
I hope they
or
have
some
bad
shit.
influences and
Yeah.
Just I hope they
I hope
suck.
your kids are jerks. Yeah.
Yep. And then he goes home, and then the solution to the problem then is for the son to pick one of the daughters to be his new person to release himself.
Just teach the kid how to
with-
whack it, dude.
there's
Right.
I really don't
Which
want
leads
to.
to a very disturbing scene as well.
Yeah, like this honestly is one of the more like horrifying movies that I've seen in a while. This is the scariest movie I've watched in a while.
Weird, right?
Very
And
weird. We don't even know if these are their biological kids or anything, or if they're just
That's a fair
True.
point.
that's
taken
a
away.
very good point, honestly. That thought never crossed my mind.
Because there is that weird little moment where they're like watching porn and she's like talking about how she's pregnant with twins. You
Right.
know,
Yeah,
what was she trying to say that she
I think
wanted
it was-
out of him?
I think maybe they were concocting a way to control them. Like, if you're not good, we're gonna pop out 2 more kids, and then like whatever. Because then they tell them that.
Yeah,
And
that
they're
did
like, no,
happen.
I don't want to share my room. I don't want to. It's like, well, then maybe if you guys are good, these babies won't be born.
right. And that's
Yeah.
that's the meaning behind him putting the fish in the pool.
Yeah.
What I took away from that scene was that once they discover that, oh, there's fish in the pool, that must mean that mommy might be pregnant. So daddy has to go in there and harpoon a fish.
And the daughter even said something when she discovered the fish. She's like, I think
Mommy
they're
will be so
seed-brain.
happy.
Mommy will be so happy if I'm right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, how is the mother connected to fish? Because this is obvious. Like, something with fish has happened before.
Good point.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that you take for granted when they talk about something so mundane like that, but then it's like it has a different meaning for them as the
There's so much that happens past the premise. Parents raising kids, and they are the most sheltered kids in the world, is kind of like explained a little bit, like you said, like lose your dog tooth, you get to leave. When it grows back, you can drive. The only way you can leave is if you drive. And then the other stuff was like, what is the age for a man to be the most creative? And the kids said, like, I think they said 30 to 40. And he's like, what about women? 20 to 30. That whole
That's the
scene,
age thing.
it explains the premise, the concept, right? Mm-hmm. But it's every other fucking thing that happens that is unanswered that grows the like lore or the texture where you have these questions. You're like, why are they having this conversation? Is it part of a conditioning for the mom, for the kids? Is it something they're both in on? Like,
Because because the mom play either. Sometimes you don't know. Is like, is the mom just playing along, or is she fucking fucked up too? Like,
Yeah.
when the dad when the dad talks about the cat, and then like, but like the mom knows about cats, obviously, because he discusses it with her.
Yeah.
But then like there's the scene towards the end where she knocks out her dog tooth, right, with a hand weight, and then she runs out and jumps into the trunk of her dad's car.
She walks like the Terminator. She just purposefully
determinedly walks.
Extended like
arms straight out
fingers,
to the ground,
arms straight down to the ground, just walking out there covered in blood.
And she was smiling too. If you notice, she was smiling so big. She was so excited.
I jokingly said at one point in the movie, I think it was during the like incest scene, but I jokingly said like, man, I could see this movie ending with one of these family members stalking the hallways with a shotgun. And I was like, that didn't happen, but I also kind of wasn't far off of just that like image of one of these family members covered in blood walking around like in a dark or more spooky aesthetic.
There's
the one daughter did ask for permission to use the harpoon gun.
Yeah,
that's true.
I felt like she wanted to hunt down her sister. She's like, she left and she wasn't supposed to. Let me kill her.
Right.
Yeah, and then so what I was talking about with the mom then was when he runs out into like past the gate, right? Looking for her, and then like all three of them, the mom, then the other two kids come running out, and then they get to the edge of the gate, and then they get on their hands and knees and start barking like dogs to keep the cats away, like he taught them earlier in the movie. Yeah. And then I was just like, is the mom just playing along with this bullshit, or is she actually fucked up too at this point? Like,
well,
there's a lot of.
She didn't go out of the gate, but she didn't like get down on the ground.
I think what she's doing is trying to abide by.
She was on the ground barking with the kids.
She's abiding by the dad being the alpha in this family.
Yes.
Saw his dad having this immense control.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what he does as a job. You see him go to some factory. Yeah, you see him go to some factory.
He said at the very end too, when he was sitting down at the table and we just saw the back of his head, he was like, I'll get the dog tomorrow. The 5th level should be finished. And I was like, is he talking about his work for some reason?
Yeah, he was talking the other scene with the work.
Yeah.
They were talking about
he was talking about the training level.
Yeah, the training level when he goes to pick up that dog earlier. They're like, no, it's not ready yet. He's like almost at the 3rd level. And so he's like, there's the 1st level, the 2nd level, where your dog's at, the 3rd level, 4th level, 5th level, and the final level or whatever.
Gotcha.
So that's what that is. But yeah, he works at some factory, and he works at some, like, you see him there, and he's just at some fucking office or cubicle thing. You don't see him really interact with anybody else there. But
just
like,
the secretary in that one scene.
Yep, secretary and that other guy in his office.
If he gave a reason, one specific reason why they can't go out there, other than it's just not safe and cats will eat babies in your face.
Oh yeah, you don't, because he doesn't directly say that either. He doesn't directly say why they can't leave.
And like, he's not even controlling enough to just be like, well, it's only because I say so. You don't need to know anything more than that. He has to come up with an excuse for his own behavior.
Right, exactly. It's deflecting it off to like, oh, there's something, whatever. You know, the first tidbit of why they can't go out there is with the cat. Like, that's it. That's the first time you hear any sort of reason why they can't.
Yeah, because if their imaginary brother is able to survive on the other side of the fence, why can't all of the children survive on the other side of the fence?
Right.
I did. This was like a very meta thing, but when the dad was when he was having his toenails clipped by one of the daughters, and he was just singing a song to her.
Yeah.
It passed through my head. I was like, well, he better be careful what he's singing, because if he says a word or phrase or like if part of his song is something that maybe they've never heard before, and it gets them asking the wrong kind of questions. They're very, very good at deflecting those, but still, any opportunity for trouble here can lead to a lot of it.
Yeah,
when they're
just talking about the guy going to the extent. I was I had to get off of my mic because something was crashing. So I don't know if you guys talked about the lengths that the dad was going to like sell this reality to his kids, like putting the paint on his face and all, like
when
blood.
when the cat came to show how dangerous it was, he took a knife and cut up his pants and his shirt, splattered a bunch of paint to look like blood, and that was when he told them that his brother died because the cats are the most dangerous thing that are out there and whatever.
They'll eat babies, they'll eat your face and your whole body, and like
strange shit. And like when he sorry, Wilson, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say when they ask if they're gonna talk to their grandpa or whatever, and he's like, yeah, sure, and he puts on like a Frank Sinatra album.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And he's like translating what Frank Sinatra's saying as if it's their grandpa talking to him, and he's like just weird shit.
But then they all know to get up and dance at the end of the chorus.
That one part, right? Yeah.
In that scene where the dad was like tearing up his clothes and putting on the paint, it honestly seemed to me like he just fucking left work in the middle of the day to deal with this shit.
Yeah, he probably did.
His
just
priority
to
like cover this up and continue the illusion for his kids was overridingly important.
Yeah.
Do you what? I don't. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask this question. Do you think the people at his work know that he like has children or anything?
I don't think so.
No.
Because he probably doesn't share anything about his personal life with anybody that he doesn't have to. He just
the only person that knows is his fucking security guard.
Which is why she wears a blindfold when they drive over there.
Yeah, so she doesn't know where it's at.
But the like realities of some of this start to pull it apart for me, where I'm like, but even if she didn't, when you approached her and said, "Hey, I have a family," it's before she even knows anything about where they are. It's just the fact that, hey, how do I broach this topic with anybody?
Right. Okay, if I give you this much money, will you shut the fuck up? Essentially,
it was a good movie, though. I'm glad I watched it.
Right, and
definitely an experience.
The movie, there's very little music in it, just to like. I think it drives home just how unsettling some of it is, especially during some of the scenes.
And we don't.
It really struck me on the second half of the movie in particular, like especially when the parents are mouthing to each other so the children can't hear them.
Can't hear.
Right. And we don't know.
Horrifying.
We don't know the exact like cadence of like Greek sarcasm or like how they like naturally the dialogue comes across. So if this was made in like English and like how they would structure their sentences, it would sound kind of like some of his other movies that have English actors portraying his dialogue, where it's kind of just like baseline, just get the dialogue out and kind of have no rhythm to it. It's kind of just straight laced and done with.
Well, that's with this though.
So matter of fact,
it is, and I think part of that is just the dad, right? The character of the dad. It's just plain speaking. Well, this is this, whatever, and like. I think we talked about how there's just no emotion on his face ever. It's just a blank slate.
Yeah, he's got a great face.
You see tinges. It's like little micro things here and there. Nothing to really give it away. I think the closest you get is the end when the daughter fucks off. Because then, like, and even then, it's kind of marred by the dark, but you can kind of see that his eyes are open a little more. Like he's kind of worried. You know,
he's a little terrified. Like everything can come crumbling down.
But even when he sees the blood at first, like he just kind of pauses. It doesn't reflect on his face. It's not until he fucks off into the yard and into the, the darkness.
I would like to, I'd love to see some interviews with the cast, just being like, what did you find in this role? What was your experience working on this movie? What did you maybe use to connect with the script?
Yeah,
right.
No kidding.
I mean, there is definitely I could see some weird satirical elements. Like I could see how parts of it can be taken as a comedy, right? But like,
yeah, we should get into that idea of this being David Lynch's like, I don't know,
favorite comedy.
Do you think he had other reasoning behind it? Because I never saw this as a comedy.
No, I think it's the absurdity of certain things that he found
I think it's definitely the like overt absurdity of a lot of this. If you're not viewing it through the lens of like, oh my god, this is horrifying, it can be pretty zany. Like,
yeah, because there are parts where I was watching in the earlier parts where I was kind of giggling or laughing because of how absurd it was. But like, I think that's where maybe he gets it from, is that he's not looking specifically at what is being portrayed, but how it's being portrayed, right? And like
that, I honestly would put some money down to say that Bruce scene was his favorite scene in the whole movie,
because that was pretty great.
Even it's like Bradshaw was saying, it's not the content, it's how it's done, and the content of that scene even could very easily just be like a Monty Python sketch.
Right.
And I think it's totally purposeful. Like, I don't think it's unpurposefully funny. Like, I think that's the point. Like, I think there is purposeful comedic elements in it.
That seems like the movie's version of a comedic moment to have some more like kind of levity. Like the scene where they're covering their eyes and trying to go hug their mom.
That's pretty
all
pretty
the little
lighthearted
weird
scene.
games they play.
Compared to some of the other stuff that we see in this movie.
I thought reciting some of the dialogue would be like, I thought that was pretty funny too. When she just had the dialogue down verbatim and she just started reciting it to her siblings. And they're like looking at her like, what is she talking about?
It was definitely like, I've seen this movie once and I'm going to like try and say these lines the best that I can.
Mm-hmm.
She's just clinging to it, hanging on to it for every moment because she's never had anything new before, and that was something I can relate to, coming from a household that heavily controlled the media that was exposed and available. Like having a curated video library that is just burned into your brain because it's all you have, I could relate to that. And getting anything new literally involved just absorbing it because you didn't know if you were ever going to get anything else, anytime soon.
Wow. Interesting perspective then.
I thought it was interesting too when, I forget who it was, they commented on how like cinema was like the thing that the straw that broke the camel's back, kind of. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like
I said it opened the floodgates to all this stuff happening and caused this death spiral.
Yeah, symbolic change.
The lightning bolt that revealed that the emperor had no clothes. There was more to the world than it was being presented to them. Yeah, so it defied the father's authority completely, which is why he had to try and beat it out of her.
Right, symbolically with the movie. Right?
How confused. Well, it was also a thing of like, oh, I'm not hurting you. This bad movie is hurting you.
Yeah.
It's like when you shove a dog's face in their poop.
I wonder how confused that girl must have been watching those movies and hearing them reference certain things and thinking it's one thing, but then it turns out to be another.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, she's watching Jaws. She's watching Jaws and they talk about the sea and she's like, why are they talking about chairs?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, specifically the line, like, hey, Mr. Balboa, Apollo Creed is on the phone. True. She's been led to believe that the phone is a salt shaker this whole time.
That's true. But I thought it like in that vein, because Chuck, you said at one point like it's about the wonders of cinema because it opens up her world completely and it does kind of lead things to spiral more and more. The scene of her like having just finished watching those movies and her dad discovering her is her just sitting in front of the TV with just static on the screen and her face is like slack-jawed, almost hypnotized, like, I can't believe what I just saw. Right. She just binged those two movies back to back and like I've been sitting here just in shock and in awe for minutes just looking at static. Yep. And I think that says a lot towards like the message about cinema maybe.
And what says a lot about cinema in that vein too is when she finally busts her tooth, and everybody's reaction, and Wilson, yours was the best because it was the most pure. You're like, oh, it was the funniest reaction.
It's just like, I don't know, man.
The power of cinema does that to you. Like it,
punch in the mouth.
I'm really not like, I can handle some gore and some violence, but watching her do what she did,
you knew, like the moment you saw that little weight sitting on the sink, and you're like, oh,
the second we cut to that scene and I saw the weight on the counter, that's it. That's all the fucking frame was a weight and her like wrist. And the second I saw that, I was like, oh, something kind of dark is going to happen with that, isn't it? And
I think it was partially maybe as just how like matter-of-factly it was treated. Like it wasn't built up like a lot of like horror movies or everything. It was just, oh, here we go. Boom.
There was no musical build. Quiet. There was no like zoom or anything. That is one thing about this movie that I'll say, like cinematography wise, is it was almost unsettling a lot of times where you're locked down in one position, and it's typically with the actor in the like middle of the frame, kind of just head and shoulders, but then it'll sit there for the whole 5 minutes of a scene and not move an inch.
Yeah. People can enter into that and break up what's happening, and they're kind of awkwardly in the frame still. You know what I mean? Like, it's
the main subject of like who's in the frame is doing something to somebody out of frame. Like the dad in one scene was sitting in his office and he's pointing to like a book or something. Somebody's being like, hey, what do you think of this? And putting something in front of him. And he's like pointing at it and looking at it. We can't see what the fuck it is, and the camera's not moving to show us. And like even in
there's a lot of that
in the car or wherever, it's just you're in one spot and you're not moving.
No. There's a lot of someone talking to someone and you don't know who the fuck they're talking to until you hear their voice, and like
it was kind of
it lingers.
Maybe I'm stretching here, but it was kind of for me another way of the movie making me feel kind of claustrophobic or controlled or like I didn't have options.
Isolated. You're isolated into this one thing, and you can't get out of it as much as you want to. But she's like, show me this. Nope, you're here.
Maybe you don't want to see what it is, but it's not going to go anywhere, so you don't have any option, you know?
That's why the end shot, to get to the end of the film, was kind of a lingering shot on just
the trunk of the trunk. Nothing happening. And then me and Chuck had two different things we recalled from the movie that weren't there.
Yeah, they're clearly just Mandela effects. You know, the movie ends.
It's got it might have been like when I'm thinking about mine, it could have been from another movie we watched around the same time, but like that, for some reason, that was the scene that always stuck out to me in my head in this movie. Maybe I just conflated it with the hand job that the sister gave him. You know,
because the hand job was realistic. They used like a pretty realistic fake penis. I'm hoping that was a fake penis. I don't know.
It could have been unsimulated. We don't know.
We don't know.
Because I very clearly remember the sister giving a very graphic, full-on blowy. Not for the entirety of the blowy, but just like it happening. And like
they hinted
you see in the penis, and you see in the head going on to the penis. And like I swear that was there, but like maybe it was another movie we watched around
it's
that time. It's
entirely possible. What else? Like
the scene with the blowy really knocked my socks off. I gotta tell you.
After the movie stopped there, I furiously looked online for like 3 minutes there, being like, okay,
did you check Mr. Skin?
Dogtooth blew it. No, but I found a compilation that was like of like the scenes and like all this stuff, and I was like, it's not there. So either we saw some cut scene, or it just wasn't there, and it was from some other movie.
Because it's not unheard of for like if you're watching something on a streaming or video on demand, for the version that is available today to be somewhat curated.
Splice something else in there.
Well, I guess what I mean by that is that certain content is kind of cut out now, you know, and it's not really publicly put forward. Like specifically, there's a TV show from Channel 4 that if you watch it pirated, it looks very different from how it looks on Amazon.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody was like, "Oh, we can't actually see the PP go in the mouth."
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
And,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that sliver of frame is just gone.
Yeah, there's copyright
Yeah.
laws and things like that, too, that sometimes they have to change music, change sounds,
All
things
kinds
like
of
that.
things like that. Yeah.
So, I could see that happening.
Yeah. Because it was that was like the lasting image to me from this movie was that. That's
was
why I was
part of
just
what
like,
made it
so I
so
was
horrifying.
very fucking confused when it wasn't in there. I was just like, wait a minute, hold up.
My life is
But
a
again-
lie.
How did this get in
No.
my head?
Yeah, but that's okay because the rest of the movie was exactly as I, recalled and I enjoyed it still.
I'm gonna say, and this is not a negative thing about the film, I don't think
Yeah.
this is one that I would recommend to people.
No, I wouldn't either.
No.
Only
No,
the
no, no,
curious
no.
of peoples. The most curious.
Maybe.
I have to kind of know
still-
the person beforehand and know
Yeah,
that they'd be down
yes.
for this kind of experience.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Because if not,
just
I'm
say
just
like,
gonna
hey,
keep my mouth shut.
you want to see a weird movie? Go watch this.
I want to see a weird fucking movie, dude. Yeah, exactly. That's probably why I haven't watched it in 10 years, right? Because it's just like, hey, who am I gonna? I don't want to just watch this by myself. I'm gonna go watch this. But
Yeah,
like,
the first time that I saw it with you was the only time I
Yeah.
needed to see it, except to like
yeah,
pull a few clips out of it.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this movie till you brought it up to me.
yeah, dude. And it's one that pops up in my head every once in a while. And I am really right now trying to think still what my connective tissue was. Maybe it's the like effect where like
Yeah, that could
the
be.
dude in
That's a good
Time
one.
Crimes had to manipulate shit around.
That's a good one.
Had to.
He had to be really
again,
controlling
it's-
of his life.
Yeah. Well, and he had to manipulate the events in order to. Maybe it was the combination of foreign film plus manipulation that led me to Dogtooth. I don't remember.
The dad and I forget the character's name, but the main guy in
Hector.
Hector. The dad and Hector do look a bit similar.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
do, but that would not have been something I recalled. And now that you say it, they do.
Was it the titties, Bradshaw? Was it just the titties?
It's always
just-
the titties, dude. The
That's-
sex is to blame for the events of the movie. There you
So,
go.
I humbly believe, Eric, that you have torpedoed this,
Uh-oh.
but not with your choice of film, but because
No.
the way that you've set me up.
Yes.
I
How the
am gonna
fuck?
have to
I'm
think
very
about connective
interested.
tissues here.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what you come up with.
We're just gonna watch Balto or something,
Yeah, right.
or some other dog.
Again,
movie.
it's a very open format where it's like it could be even like, hey, this has a Greek guy in it. This doesn't have to be super deep. You know that.
Do you guys
Free
recall?
association.
Do you guys recall
Yeah.
our threads so far? If Wilson can't come up with something, can you go back to Master of Disguise?
Go back to Master of Disguise. The thread from Master of Disguise was the fart guy. To
Yes.
to Good Morning. Was that what it was called?
Yes.
What was it called? Yep. To Good Morning. Chuck, if you haven't seen that, you should watch that.
Okay, I'm writing that down.
It's a Japanese movie
Yep.
Yes,
from the 50s, 60s, 50s.
1954. I want to say.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I had the connective tissue of like defining shots and the locale as a character was then my connective tissue to Rear Window.
Hmm.
Ah, yes.
And then from Rear Window to, what was it, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3?
Yep.
Hmm. The connective tissue
I don't
was
remember.
Crimes.
What was the connective tissue?
Or no, not that was the Time Crimes.
Do you remember what was the connective tissue for that, Wilson?
It was my pick. So it was locations,
Yeah.
character, imposters, like characters being imposters,
There you
and
go.
there was one more. But then we went to
Time
Time
Crimes.
Crimes.
So, Time Crimes. Which
Time Crimes was
a
a thread of, in Pelham, time was of the essence of getting things done.
Yeah.
And crimes, committing a crime. So
Crimes.
I used both of those and put Time Crimes together.
And I guess retroactively, from what I'm thinking, is foreign film having to do with manipulation of things brings us to Dogtooth, I guess.
And
It
I think
makes
it
sense.
just hit you too. Like when you texted me the movie, I pretty much could have called it. Like, okay, yes, I know we've had this discussion before, and it's a movie that stuck with you. That was a foreign film.
It's what I've been wanting to do. Like it's all like there's a couple movies that are like if I can find connective tissue to it, I want to do them, and that was one of them. And I was able to find some connective tissue there. What it is right now isn't super clear to me, but I think what I've retroactively said is that was probably that.
I'm glad it occurred to you, because I got even more out of it watching it this time than I did the first time I saw it.
Right? The first time was just kind of like, what the fuck? And you're just kind of like you're into it, and you're just like trying to follow what's happening, trying to figure out what the fuck's happening. And you're just like, especially because you don't find out, like the whole Dogtooth thing doesn't come in until like halfway through the movie or some shit.
Right.
Yeah, the
what I mean?
explanation of the Dogtooth.
Yeah, and like why they're there and shit like that, and why they haven't left. Like it's all, you have no idea what's happening or why it's happening until you get to that point. And it's just like, and also, one of you motherfuckers pointed out too something I never saw the first time being, like the potential symbolism with the dog training thing.
Yeah.
When he's at the dog trainers talking about the different levels and the different, how you want your dog to be, and like it's obedience, and you want to be loyal, do you want to be a friend, and then someone's like, oh, this kind of parallels with how he's dealing with his kids, and I was like, oh shit, I never thought about that either.
Oh, really? Like I was like kind of on the nose.
Yeah, no,
It
I
was,
glossed
but, like,
over that scene the first
again,
time too.
10 years ago,
Sure.
probably wasn't paying much attention to that scene when it was on, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it's like you said, it's on the nose, it's right there, even with Dogtooth, right? Like the whole, so it's like, oh, shit, a lot of stuff like that I didn't pick up on the first time because I was just like, oh, the fuck. I remember Jaws being one of the movies, and then like the weird
dance, the weird dance
thing, and they had the weird dance.
That was my favorite part of the movie, was the dance, because that's a freaky, fun little thing she got to do.
Yeah,
she had to know the choreography, like, because it was so like real to the actual film.
Because
I recognized some of those moves
at that point
when she was doing the Maniac.
The fucking the Stippy Stampy shit.
Yep.
They're like pretending to sit and have the water pour down on her.
Yep.
And like, yeah.
She was ravenous. Ravenous after that.
Yeah.
Humping the stage, that was one from it too.
She even did the splits at one point.
Yep.
Boys, I think I have found our next movie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you found the fellation scene.
No,
you did it?
Oh, no, I'm not looking.
The Holy Grail.
I know, right?
You'll find it someday,
Okay,
Show. If
good.
not this movie, it's somewhere out there.
I know. And I'll just keep pedaling through the random fucking movies me and Chuck Crane watched in those couple years.
Any last things to say about the film, Dogtooth?
I mean, yeah, it was as absurd and disturbing as I remember.
Sure.
I probably enjoyed it more this time because I knew kind of what to expect, so I got to like appreciate the other shit.
Yeah.
And again, kind of since I've seen it, I can kind of remove a little bit from what's happening, so I could appreciate the kind of the quote unquote comedy, I guess, the absurdity, silly stuff, a little bit more. So
Yeah, what genre
yeah.
would you call this movie if you had to label it? And it doesn't have to be right or it's not right or wrong. Just what would you label the movie as?
I would probably label it a drama. I mean, I think it's a little too dramatic to be like a black comedy or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or a dark
This would
comedy.
this is like a Greek Harold Pinter play. It really reminds me of how his stories are things you laugh at, but it's always awful things going on.
Yeah, really very dark stuff. I would call it, yeah, something like on the cusp of a thriller almost, because there's always a sense of dread. There's a looming sense of dread with the dad. Like he could just snap with that face he gives everybody, and like the things he does. Just when he smacked the girl with the VCR.
He never straight up kills anybody.
No, but he sternly hits them like.
If he was ever gonna come, if he ever was, it was gonna be that fucking security guard, and he was surprisingly restrained with that, even though he did hit her over the head with a VCR twice.
I definitely thought that he was going to kill her, so I was surprised that he didn't.
See
He
that?
really wanted to. He could, but he had to stop himself. Cause
I think part of it was to maintain his, because if he did, then they could potentially lead back to him.
He knew his limits. Yeah.
Destroy his life, right? That he has.
Anybody else want to kind of take a crack at their genre?
Well, I want to hear. I'm curious to hear what Wilson's like thoughts at the end are about it as a movie, and just kind of since he was the one coming into this dry.
I even just reading like a 2-sentence synopsis, I did not get the film I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. I'm glad I watched it. Yeah, I think my favorite scene was probably the Bruce scene, or I really liked the one of them with their blindfolds on trying to hug mom. Because that's one of the few times I remember being very I almost had like a violent reaction to the music. I was like, whoa, there's music now?
Right. They're just trying to find mom.
But I think genre, whatever a good term is for a mixture of drama and horror.
Yeah.
Because it's some parts of it felt like it was ready to turn on a dime into like the dad walks into a shop, buys a vial of some green shit from somebody, takes it home, gives it to his kids. They start mutating, or like body horror stuff starts happening. I don't know.
That's why I think Thriller might be a good one there, because Thriller has the elements of drama and horror in it, but it never goes full tilt.
Well, and this, in that way of being like a thriller or something, doesn't really have that payoff. But
it doesn't turn up the stress that a thriller does, right?
I think the best term would be drama, because a drama can still have plenty of tension and not need to have like a big payoff.
It is kind of an endurance movie, though. Like, can you make it past, the breaking point of, the incest?
There's numerous parts that you have to make it past. You have to make it past the the sex scene that starts it out. You're just like, okay, this is fucking weird, and then you have to like endure this amount of time without knowing what's going on until you hit that scene where he explains the whole Dogtooth part of it, and you're like, finally get context to it. Otherwise, you have no context. And then there's like little marks like that throughout the movie that are endurance tests, essentially.
Yeah, they're like checkpoints. Like at the very beginning, Wilson, you touched on just the words that they pop. The first thing they do is pop in the tape, and they play it, and they learn their words, and you're like, okay, this is wrong. Something is telling me that this movie is going to be off.
Which is also like, that's the only other thing that happens in what the rest of the scene is. Just the camera's locked down looking at the middle child, and she's talking about playing a game by putting their finger under a hot water. Yep. And I think anybody that watches this, regardless of the content of the movie, but more the style of the movie, they're going to know very early on if they're not in, because it's slow paced. There's like, with no camera movement, with no music. It's like not a boring watch by any means, but it's kind of a slow burn in a way. Like, Yeah, there's no explanation of what's going on. It's just scene after scene of what is going on.
What's up, Wilson?
I want to read more.
Did you get my text?
I did.
The next movie we're going to watch?
I did. Excited.
There we go.
So we have our movie, and I guess we'll just end it here. I'd like to thank our guest, Chuck Crane, for hanging out with us.
Yes.
Thank you once again for having me. It was
Thanks for
a pleasure.
sitting in, Charles.
Tell everybody where they can find you again.
Yeah.
You can find me at From the Mezzanine on YouTube, and I guess on Facebook if you're there. But yeah, that's all I can really do for a plug for now.
All
Excellent.
right.
And yeah, so thanks everybody for joining us.
It's a good time. Yes.
And we'll be back with the next installment in our next thread of connecting tissues to films with Wilson's pick. And it should be exciting.
Do you want to know the movie we're going to watch?
No.
We're going to watch The Phantom, Billy Zane.
Fuck yes.
Oh, God.
That's a good pick.
Oh, shit.
We're going to watch
Getting his
League
hopes
of
up.
Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery.
Oh, God.
We're going to watch
Mystery
Ferngully.
Men with Kel Mitchell.
2001, A Batman Begins Christmas Adventure.
I'm so ready.
We're just actually going to watch a compilation of XXX porn parodies.
Or we'll just watch more Chills videos and tell people that we watched a movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 10.
Well, we'll end it there, and
I had nothing to follow that with.
I was waiting, so
Oh yeah, it's like, what is number 10?
Nope.
Thanks, everybody.
That's the name of the Tills movie. What is number 10?
we'll be back
What is number 10?
with more Reel to Reel coming at you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So long.
Bye.